rounding decimals. Now I don't need you to draw the number line, it's just there to help. But everything else, of course, we write down. So we often get decimal answers with several numbers or digits after the decimal point, like these examples I have here. And sometimes, of course, they can go on much, much, much further. Instead of writing them down, we can round. So cut them off and get as accurate an answer as we can. We already know how to round to the nearest whole number. But sometimes, especially for money, when we need to round to 2 decimal places, or we might often want to round to 1 decimal place. So that's saying we keep 1 number after the decimal point, or we keep 2 numbers after the decimal point, but we do have to round still. In the same way as we rounded to the nearest whole number when we learned that one, we're going to round correct to the nearest 1 decimal place. So our steps, we're just doing 1 decimal place to start with. Cut off all numbers after the first decimal place. So that's our first step. So actually, if I was going to round all of these to 1 decimal place, I would start by cutting them off after the first number after the decimal. Cut it off, cut it off. Then we look at the first number we cut off. Now that's sometimes called the critical digit, and it's the first number that we've removed. This one, this one. Now you'll remember that we had a rule when we rounded to the nearest whole number. If the first number that we cut off was 5 or more, we'd round up. If it was less than 5, we'd just cut it off. We wouldn't go anywhere. So I'm starting, and I'll write my third step in just a moment. I will write it in. Follow the rule. 5 or more, round up. So that's +1 to our end digit. Less than 5. Now you remember the word truncate? It just means to cut it off. So we don't make any changes. So let's have a look at all these with those rules. And I started with ones that fit on my number line. 0.16. It's somewhere between 0.1 and 0.2, and it's there. And you can see really clearly it's closer to 0.2 than 0.1. So we cut it off after the first decimal place. We only look at the first number we cut off, critical digit. If it's 5 or more, we round up. That is +1 to our last digit. It's more than 5, so I add 1, and this becomes 0.2, which is correct. If I'm going to only 1 decimal place, this is closer to 0.2 than 0.1. Have a look at another one on the number line, 0.12. It's here. It's really close to 0.1. Obviously, that's where we should go. We look at the first digit that we cut off. It's less than 5, so we just truncate. We just cut this off, and we say that's 0.1. Another example, we had 15.382. So we cut off after the first number after the decimal point. Look at our first digit we cut off. 5 or more, we round up. +1 to the last digit that is left. This is 15.4. If we're really being very, very pedantic, we'd put in brackets 1dp, meaning to 1 decimal place, and we could do that for all of them. Now sometimes we need to round to 2 decimal places or more than that, or less than that. It's the same steps. The only change is that we cut off all numbers after the required number of decimal places. And then follow the rule again. We only ever look at the first digit that we cut off. So this question says, round to the number of decimal places in the bracket. So here I've got 143.8502, and they want it to 2 decimal places. So that says, go to the decimal point and keep 2 numbers after it. Look at the first digit we cut off, the critical digit. Is it 5 or more? No. So we just truncate. 143.85, and in brackets we say 2 decimal places. 0.0095 to 3 decimal places. So we go to the decimal point and we keep 3 numbers after it, and we look at this. 5 or more? Yes, it is. So we have to add 1 to our last remaining digit. Now, if I add 1 to that, I get 10. And I can't put 10. I'm actually going to have to carry my 1 over, and it's going to be 0.010 to 3 decimal places. Because I can't have 10 here, so I've got to carry my 1 and leave a 0. Bit tricky. And 3.75 to 0 decimal places, that's just saying to the nearest whole number. So cut it off at 0 decimal places. Look at the first number, 5 or more, yep. So this rounds up to 4 to 0 decimal places.